Okay, you guys, today we're going to start lesson 1.2, which has to do with order of operations. So the goal for today is to write and evaluate numerical expressions involving whole number operations, or whole number exponents, sorry. So we're going to write these expressions and then we're going to actually evaluate them. So if you look at the real world link, you're buying a whole bunch of materials for a solar system model. You're buying spheres and paint and rods, and you want certain numbers. So you want 9 of the $2 spheres, okay? So yes, you could do 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, or to write that as an expression, you could do 9 times 2 because you want 9 of those $2 items. But you also want paint. So you want, in addition to the spheres, you want 6 of the $3 items. So again, I think multiplication would be a good way to find the cost of that paint. And then we want the rods, right? So we want 8 of the $1 items. So 8 times 1. Now, what would I do with all of those in order to find the total cost? I would have to add them up. Now, when I think about evaluating that expression, there's a certain order, that's what we're talking about today, that I have to do things in. I would want to take the cost of the spheres, the cost of the paint, and the cost of the rods and add those costs together. So my first job is going to be to multiply. I don't want to add first. So 9 times 2 is 18. 6 times 3 is also 18. 8 times 1 is 8. And then I'm going to add all of these numbers together from left to right. So 18 and 18 is 36 plus 8. I'm going to spend $44 in order to buy the materials I need for the solar system. So let's talk order. This pyramid is really great to use in order to keep the order in mind. Okay, this top section is going to be our top priority. So the first thing you always want to start with is anything inside parentheses. Okay, parentheses always come first. Then, just like we learned about yesterday, exponents are the next thing in the order. So we want to start with parentheses, then go to exponents. The third thing we want to concentrate is all multiplication and division, okay? And I'm going to start with the left side of the problem, whatever one of those two is on the left, and move to the right. Just like you read, you want to go from left, you read from left to right, you're going to do multiplication and division starting on the left side of the problem and moving to the right, okay? And finally, the last thing we'll worry about in the order of operations is any adding and subtracting. And again, we're going to start with whatever addition or subtraction is on the left side of the problem and move all the way through to the right. Okay? On the next page and in the next video, I'll show you how to actually utilize this order in order to get the right answer. Okay. Guys, we are going to continue with lesson 1.2, which is order of operations, okay? So today we're going to evaluate the expressions. Notice there's lots of operations in these, so what you want to do is be really, really careful to do things in the correct order. Yesterday we went over, or in the most recent video, we went over this pyramid that I want you to keep in mind the entire time you're working. Remember, at the top, parentheses. I can't fit them in that tiny space. The next is exponents. I'll just put EXP. Remember, we start with parentheses. When all the parentheses are gone, then we move to exponents. When all the exponents are gone, then we move to multiplication and division. And remember, we do this from left to right. And the last would be addition and subtraction, again starting on the left side of the problem, whichever one's on the left, and moving to the right. Now let's see what that looks like. We're going to do 4 examples and the rest you're going to do on your own. Let's start with number 1. So what I always ask myself, I go back to the pyramid and I say, are there any parentheses in example number 1? There are not. So I move on to the next step. Any exponents in example number 1? Nope, don't find any of those either. And then I look for multiplication and division, the third rung of the pyramid. And if you notice, there is a multiplication. Remember, that dot means multiply. So I'm going to start here with the multiplication, okay? And what I want you to always do is one step at a time, and I want you to put that little arrow underneath it to indicate this is where I'm going to start. So we have 7 times 5, and we know that's 35. After you complete that 7 times 5, the 7 and 5 are used, so we don't need those anymore. But what hasn't been used? Well, I haven't used the plus, and I haven't used the 3. So I definitely need to write that down. Now, multiplication and division are done, so I'm looking for adding and subtracting. There is an addition, so I'm going to add 35 and 3, which is 38. That is the numerical value after I evaluated that expression, okay? So that pyramid really comes in handy. Okay, let's try number 2 together. So go back to your pyramid again and look, are there any parentheses? Well, in this case, there are. So I'm going to start with these parentheses. So 28 minus 20 is 8. Okay, I've used up the 28 minus 20, and I only have to write down what I haven't used. Well, I haven't used the divided by, and I haven't used the 4. Remember to write things in the order that you get them, okay? So the 4 came after that parentheses to make sure the 4 is at the end. And then the last step would just be to divide. 8 divided by 4 is 2. Again, remember I'm doing a step at a time, and I'm using those the arrow to indicate which step is being done. Okay, you're going to try 3 and 4 on your own. I'm going to try number 5. So look at all the operations in number 5. I see a multiplication, an exponent, an addition, and a subtraction. So there's 4 different things we're going to have to do in this problem. So go back to your pyramid. Are there any parentheses? Nope, no parentheses. So then move to step 2. Are there any exponents? Yep, right here. 3 to the second power, or 3 squared is how we say that. Well, that means, remember, that means 3 times 3, right? And 3 times 3 we know is 9. So we're going to put the 9 there. Now, be careful to write down everything we haven't used. The 3 to the second power is done. But look, in the front, I had a 4 that I didn't use and a multiplication sign. After that, I had a plus and an 18, a minus, and a 9. Okay, now this is my next step to look at. So I've covered all the exponents, right? Now I'm looking for multiplication and division. Is there any? Yes, there is. Right at the front here, we have 4 times 9. So 4 times 9 we know is 36. Okay, the 4 and the 9 are used. What hasn't been used? I haven't used the plus, the 18, the minus, and the 9. And notice I'm putting them exactly in the right order as it is in the problem. Now, this is where we get to addition and subtraction. And this is where we talked about earlier going left to right. I want to start on the left side. So which operation is on the left side? That is the 36 plus 18. The plus is written first on the left-hand side. So I'm going to add 36 and 18, which is 54. Now, what haven't I used? The minus and the 9. So that's my last operation. 54 minus 9 is 45. A lot of steps in that problem, and if you don't stay organized, you could do them out of order. So be super careful. Okay, last one. We're going to do number 9 together. Number 9 looks kind of strange. Remember this bar right here that we have? This bar means divide, but it also is separating the top part of the problem and the bottom part of the problem, okay? And if you notice, on the top part of the problem, there's a whole bunch of operations that need to get done. So that has to happen first. 7, there's nothing to do with the 7 yet. So we're going to start at the top, and we're going to solve that problem. Now I'm going to do it down here so it doesn't interfere with my problem. That's the job I have to do, is solve 8. And what you need to know is when an 8 is next to that parentheses, that means multiplication. So if you want to, you could put a little multiplication sign right next to it to remind you. You don't have to, but remember, when a number is next to a parentheses directly with no operation, that means multiply. So go back to your pyramid. Are there any parentheses? Yes, there definitely are right here. So we're going to start by doing what's in parentheses. 3 plus 4 is 7. Now, what haven't I used? The 8 at the beginning, and we know an 8 next to parentheses means multiply. 8 times 7 is 56. I've now solved the top part of that problem, 56, and I still have the 7. So remember that bar means divide. 56 divided by 7 is 8. So I evaluated that expression and got 8. Now, go slowly, do one step at a time, use your arrows to show what you're doing first and what you're doing next, and that'll keep you in check. All right.